Sumeru Archon Quest Act 5 is such blessing because it will bring us to the fact that our lore understanding and view will be changing forever. Ilminsul 3 is our key to open the truth of Teyvat, and it changes everything, and this is something essential to know. But what exactly is it? Well, we will explore and discuss that special topic in this video, starting from what Ilminsul 3 is, what its origin, what it's capable of, the connection to other vital info in the games like Vision, Genosis, and Forbidden Knowledge, and lastly following with my own speculation regarding that info. I don't wanna waste any more of your time because it will be a long journey, so grab your snack and take your favorite drink, stay relaxed. Based on the description of question prototype weapon, Ilminsul 3 can be described like this. Ilminsul 3 covers 3 realms: the Light Realm, Human Realm, and possibly the Abyss or Void Realm. It also connected to the ley line of the world, and it can bring other branches to the surface. Also, based on the information we have so far, Ilminsul 3 has this characteristic. It has no defining physical form, but instead it appears to be like an imaginary tree. For example, the tree we see on Raiden Makoto and Rukkhadevata Realm of Consciousness. It also operates or behaves like a tree, which can grow, make branches, wither, and other attributes related to the tree. Just like the tree can absorb water, Ilminsul 3 also can absorb something, and that something is the memory and energy that exists within the realms. All memories and energy that exist will flow and lead to the Ilminsul 3 to be stored. This statement is really important later because it will lead us to the true potential of this tree, so stay with me a little bit. Then how about its origin? Well, as far as I'm concerned, there is no single book or any source information that tell us about Ilminsul 3 origin. But we can draw a pretty good line about Ilminsul 3 origin based on the Primordial One arrival. In my head right now, there are 2 scenarios, before and after Primordial One arrival. First, before Primordial One, the tree already exists first and as well as the 7 Dragon Sovereigns. After defeating the dragons, the Primordial One took the tree over and did some adjustment like the way it is today. Or, number 2, after Primordial One, well, after defeating the 7 Dragon Sovereigns, the Primordial One creates the Ilminsul 3, either by using the remaining power of the dragons or other power sources within the existing realm like the Light Realm. How many of them? For now, there is only one main Ilminsul 3 we know. Apart from its main form, Ilminsul 3 also has some branches that reach to the surface of Teyvat. Uniquely, in each region so far, they also have their own Ilminsul 3 type on the surface. For example, Frost-Bearing Tree in Dragonspine, Sacred Sakura in Inazuma, Chasm Wither Tree in the Chasm, and also there are other speculation Ilminsul 3 like Vanessa Tree in Mondstadt, Azhdaha Tree in Liyue, a Wither Tree near Bodman in Surumi Island, and the Divine Tree in Sumeru City. Another thing about Ilminsul 3 we get after Sumeru Archon Quest Act 5 is that Ilminsul 3 seems to have some level of sentience. It is because it can create its own avatar, such as Rukkhadevata as well as Nahida. But at the same time, its own avatar cannot access some part of information available within the Ilminsul 3 repository, which is weird. To some degree, Ilminsul 3 also can get injected or put new information and get altered, or the information can be changed. To make it more easy to understand, we can think of memory as data. Data here the same data we know in our computer. It can get corrupt. We can also see more computer reference in Nahida kits, like jumping on keyboard keys, moving cursor, and selected items, which indicates that Ilminsul 3 sees the memory as data in like computer. In summary, we can conclude that Ilminsul 3 is similar to the giant computer, not in literal meaning of course. Also, by that means, if the memory can operate like data, then there is possibility that if our current history has already changed, get altered, or get corrupted, like the way Rukkhadevata no longer exists in history, which also makes history books, NPC dialogues, and other items more unreliable or cannot be trusted 100%, except for some books that contain fictional stories, because, it is fiction. Fun fact, that is what the Abyss Order is looking for, the fiction book. Remember Risa story quest? In that story quest, one of the Abyss Order members tried to collect the book of Pale Princess of the Six Pygmies, which arguably contain the secret of Kandrian people. So it is possible to say our fictional books is more trust than the history one. Now we have already covered what we know so far. How about we jump to the brain juice territory, or make a raw hypothesis based on previous information? If eternity is the closer to the heavenly principle, then wisdom is the closer to the immensal tree. From what we see, it is pretty obvious to say that dendro element is the closest element to the immensal tree. Since you know memory is equal to data, data equal to information, more information means more knowledge to gain and wisdom following it. We all know together if the Akasa system was developed by Rukadevata, but there is a question. Where is Rukadevata inspired to build the Akasa system? Well, in the previous section, it already mentioned if Rukadevata was an avatar of the immensal tree. Therefore, we can guess that the Akasa system is built based on how the immensal tree operates. And if that is the case, then we can know what exactly the constellation is. Constellation is similar to the K knowledge. They both are rocks that contain memory or data. The difference is data in K knowledge is abstracted from the person's minds. It's a limited range. But constellation are data recorded from the ley line, so it covers a wider range, the entire Teyvat and other realms. In Sumeru Archon Quest, we also know the Akasa system is capable of computation. With that function, the Akasa system can produce new data, such as predicting every movement of certain personnel based on their existing data. This is similar to how fate works. So, the immensal tree takes all memories within the realms from the ley line and produce new data, such as predicting every possible movement of those memories, and the result is the constellation, the fruit from the ley line, that dictates the fate of every person on Teyvat. If memory is data, then energy in immensal tree can be considered as power or element in Genshin Impact terms. By that means, 7 elements could have originated from the immensal tree. I see this thing as the way of immensal tree to categorize its data block by their own energy characteristic, and the result is the 7 elements we know. It is the same way we categorize files or data. Remember that each element has their own characteristic, which implies whatever or whoever is wielding one of the 7 elements will have thus corresponding characteristic. For example, is that we know that every vision holder somehow share a similar background or common personality, Pyro with their vision, Cryo with their duality, etc., etc. Which also bring us to the assumption of vision probably granted from the immensal tree and not directly from Celestia. In previous section, we already established the idea that immensal tree has some level of sentience. Memory is considered as data, and collective data is used to predict the future and produce fate or constellation. With that information, we can take a guess that whoever has a big collective data, or you could say memories, fate, ambition, or even dreams, to some degree will be granted vision from the immensal tree. To the immensal tree, vision is used for, categorizing each individual ambition or fate. If the person reach a certain point where the collective data is too big or contains some level of potential harm from data, that person will get ascended. Also, since memory and energy are linked to each other, then it makes sense for the vision holder to use a certain elemental power. Now, the question is, does Celestia have the authority to use this granted vision system? About Gnosis. Gnosis is a special case, because based on what Venti ever said, Gnosis is an advanced version of vision, so it can be said if Gnosis is granted more value than vision. But what is it? We know that Gnosis somehow connected to the City of the Seven. Therefore, Gnosis can be said to be connected to the ley line, which means to be the immensal tree itself. It makes it Gnosis to be the anchor of each elemental power. If we take this info to the previous idea that immensal tree is similar to the giant computer, then we can think of Gnosis as the code or password for each elemental power and data. So, whoever collects all 7 Gnosis, then they will get all the codes and get grant access to the immensal tree, which even its own avatar cannot ever do. With this grant access, they can easily manipulate and change data and elemental energy all over Teyvat and other realms. It is also parallel with what Pyro said in Teyvat Interlude chapter. Their ultimate goal is to burn the old world and create the new one. Well, since I already went too far with the idea that Ilminso 3 is similar to Giant Computer, then in my visions, forbidden knowledge is just the existing data that is hidden buried from the surface. When it comes to the surface, this existing data will be categorized as virus because it is still unreadable. In other words, forbidden knowledge is still part of the Ilminso tree. But since it is buried deep down, when it comes to the surface, it becomes known from the other world. Imagine this like the iceberg. We have the surface, the deep sea, and the dark sea. The surface is the information we know and can access, like human realm and the light realm. The deep sea is the information below the ice that just a certain person can access. For example, like information about Khaenri'ah Kingdom, Dark Sea, and some parts of the Void Realm. Lastly, the Dark Sea, the information that is hidden too far from the surface. Normal people could consider this information as the power from beyond. And to prevent people accessing that Dark Sea, it is possible to say that information gets some sort of like encryption or password to keep it safe. And that password is the 7 Gnosis. And yeah, congratulations, you have reached the end of this video. For the future video, we will explore more about this, which probably covers about the Traveler, Descender, Hexen Circle goals, and other stuff grumbling around. So if you don't want to miss that, please consider subscribing to this channel and give the like and comments as the support so I can make the video more confidently. Thanks for watching this video. Hello Zen here and see you next time.